Good morning. So the slide, the entry that we little note in pre-market was that sell-off at the end of the day, something. And it was kind of unusual. It didn't happen right away. It was options expiration. And, after the market had closed, in retrospect, now the news coming out seemed like maybe the news was leaked as to what was coming. Because when I saw you can see the drop here, which happened, I think it was like whatever time that is. Actually, that's because it's a 15-minute chart. It started a little bit before, and I was like, that's weird. Usually that would have happened before the close. And it happened, I think it started 5 or 10 minutes after the close. The future started to drop. So now we know that the US credit rate was downgraded. It's happened before. I forget what year it was. Clearly, the market went up after that because it's higher today than it was years ago. I don't remember what it did immediately after, but it'd be worth Googling that or checking it out to see what the situation was at that time and what changed things. I'll do that a little later in the day. But markets are rolling over. And thank you, Alex. I figured you would know. And yeah, so 2008, that was a pretty nasty year. I think that was the financial situation related to, I forget exactly what it was, whether it was real estate or whatever. But anyway, we got the heads up last week with the internals reaching an extreme, and they continued and sentiment continued to go to further extremes as there was more and more call buying versus bullish bets versus puts, bearish bets. And you might wonder, why would anybody be doing that? When a market that is up from where it is, coming into resistance, little acceleration. This is the type of price pattern that typically occurs before some kind of correction, right? Where you get an acceleration like that, a gap up and an acceleration. And so now it's rolling over a little bit. And so nobody knows how far it'll go. The good thing is, anytime you get a bearish event like this, uh, it occurs after a move higher, where it's provided areas of support below. It's above the moving averages, which would suggest that unless for some reason things really were to get out of hand, right, more extreme sell-off, there's going to be buyers on a dip down, somewhere down here. Maybe the unfilled gap, maybe it chops sideways, comes down a bit. The 20 reaches the 200. We get some converging moving averages. Um, the unfilled gap, minor support. We'll see. Um, so having several days of having stalled, and just looking at this particular chart, and there are plenty like this, having stalled up there, in other words, the momentum slowed down, and you get a longer or a larger area of overhead resistance that prices are breaking down from, which is more bearish than prices advancing several days in a row and breaking below a prior bar's low, just one bar. In addition, and this is, I assume, more related to options expiration, that actually closed near the high of the day. So when one of the tells, right? Sometimes in MT Live we talk about tells. What's a tell? Well, if you watch poker things, they talk about tells. A guy flinches, moves his glasses, does who knows what. Um, as prices are advancing, and you get little wicks or topping tails on the bars, and then you get one that closes at the high after multiple days moving up. It's another way of saying, hey, it's just a contrarian indicator that now there's no fear buying into the close, and you add a Friday to that with internals at an extreme. It's like it's time to be a little careful. So we'll see how far this goes. And everything's rolling over. See, the S&P's not so bad, not as much as the NQs, the Nasdaq, because that was stronger. Tech uh, had led the way up. And as we look at weekly charts, they're just in a giant trading range. So There was a lot of speculation toward the end of the week, and it still could be in the cards, new all-time highs. There will be new all-time highs at some point, whether it happens, in the next 3 months or 9 months or a year, whatever. It's going to happen because, they're going to remove some stocks that are underperforming and add some others and so on and so forth. And eventually the markets will make new highs again. But for now, in the short term, we should anticipate this correction continuing to could be just chop frustration. You saw there was more tariff news late in the day yesterday, in the latter part of the day. Um, so this craziness is not ending. It seemed maybe it would have with the U.S.-China deal and so on. It's not. So we deal with it anyway. S&P's not breaking below this level here, and we'll see if they do. I suspect at some point they will. And the Russell, that's got a whole lot of days up there, but still going sideways, showing a little bit of relative strength, but it was the weaker one, so less likely to decline as much. Okay, Alex has got us the news here, and I'll post that over here. Thank you. Checked it out. So 10%, and we'll measure that and see where that puts us if that aligns with some support. And of course, earlier in the year, there was, depending on what you looked at, there was 15%, 20%, more or less. So we'll check it out when we get to, we'll look at the Qs and SPY and see where that puts prices. YM holding up pretty darn well. Right? So maybe United Healthcare being clobbered enough. Highest priced Dow stock. I didn't look at where it is this morning, but I'm just seeing that where this is, it's gapping down, but it's not gapping down under the prior bar's low. And you can see the upside shakeout there, the deep retracement, which would suggest it'll eventually go down. So on a 65-minute chart, that's kind of a big deal. On a daily chart, it's still in a trading range. So put things in perspective. All right. So the big news is interest rates, right? See the 30-year, right? Want to borrow long term? Now it's over 5%. That's a huge move in one day based on the downgrade, but it was grinding higher. And one of the comments that I made last week was, I guess, in retrospect, you say, always look back on, the thoughts that you have, what actually occurred. And my thoughts were, this market is just, how is it ignoring interest rates moving up like that? And I said, well, they're just, kind of in a big trading range within another trading range and so on, but they're not having this kind of reaction. And the one day, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, that the markets were rolling over and then interest rates started to move down and the markets rallied strongly. And so probably a lot of it was related to options expiration. But, this is a big negative. 30-year mortgages are going to go higher. The government's got to borrow higher and so on. So, and you see, if you're following any news, now this deficit is not going lower and more. I'm kind of laughing because, of course, now that the internals have given us the heads up, more negative news, more things to worry about, so on and so forth as this unfolds. The news will probably get worse. Why do things seem to disconnect gold, silver, equities, and how long are those things disconnected? Well, things connect and disconnect, So having been doing this for a few decades, um, you know, I've seen times where interest rates and the markets have had inverse relationships as tight as a 1 minute chart many years ago. And then all of a sudden, nobody cares about interest rates anymore. All of a sudden, no one really gives a damn about the price of gold anymore. Why does it happen? Economies, things shift, environments shift, different focuses. And this is the struggle as traders, and that we want things to be always be consistent, always be the same, like it is with most things in life, where we have confidence in the things that we do because it becomes repetitive. And so we're confident because our experience leads us to, well, this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. Whereas with the market, is like, well, why last month was that a good thing and now it's a bad thing? Like, what kind of schizo place do we deal with here? Are we like masochists that we deal with this kind of stuff? No, it's just, it's part of what keeps it interesting and new and exciting. So it's just the way it is. What can I say? So interest rates are going higher. The 30 years up there, it's above 5%. The 10-year is moving up. And you can see up here is the old high. Well, we'll see if this continues to move up or whatever it's going to do. So with that happening, gold is up. Sitting down here, it's had this correction, and you know, down here breaking this prior low, lower high, lower low, major supports way down here. So not significant damage being done, but obviously a lot of uncertainty. Weekly trend is up, 65-minute trend is sideways. Whatever your plan is, and I gave some guidelines in the chart of the week as to some kind of a thought process. I'll post that in the chat if you don't have it when Dan starts talking. All right, so where are things at here? Most things are down, so you can check them out as you will. See where they're at. Let's measure 10%. 10% from, let's say, that high. That's 7, 8, 9, 10%, give or take, right? Where does that put us in the perfect place, right? Down here, here's an unfilled gap. This one looks like not quite filled, give or take, but on this support in the area of the 50 MA, a pivot low down here. It's okay. Right? Eyeballing this here to here, probably a little less than 50%. So if it overshoots the 10%, comes down to the pivot, give or take, someone here is about a 50% retracement I'm eyeballing. Not so bad. Well, it depends on if you bought up here and you're going to hold on. It's kind of a little unnerving, but it is what it is. But with every correction, and I say this every time, there are going to be stocks that are going to go down 30, 40, and 50%. So as always, adhere to your stops because you don't know if they're going to come back. The market always comes back. If you live long enough, it always comes back. Whether your stock comes back or not, right? Look like Beyond Meat, right? GoPro. There's just plenty of bodies out there, stuff that never came back. And certain things won't go down 10%, right? There's an unfilled gap down here at around 10%. Yeah, Alex is saying cash rich equities should hold better, which is like, okay, if the fundamentals are good, especially if it's an institutional favorite, they're going to buy Microsoft and Meta and so on. PLTR, that's done well. So they're going to come back for these stocks, you know, and those may not go down 10%. We'll just have to see. All right, so that's in the area of an unfilled gap. It probably won't go down 10%. I'm speculating. And look at that. That looks like an exhaustion gap. A lot of things look like they could have been exhaustion gaps. All right. So let's look at the spiders, measure 10%. High, 7, 8, 9. All right, 10%, give or take. All right, you've got the pivot. That means it would go down below the 50, which will rattle some cages. It'll go down below the 200, which will probably be a bunt. And as you look at this chart and you compare it to, say, old charts, meaning things that were in uptrends, so you can say, well, this was an uptrend. Then why is the 200 so close to current prices? because it was preceded by a nasty downtrend. Well, most of the time, something that has gotten elevated, the 200 is down below the 50. So a little different arrangement. That's why we call moving averages a visual aid. Like, we're seeing where the alignment, where they are aligned with prices, gives us a view as to what's happened in the past and reference points. All right. So SPX, this should be a no-brainer on the downside with this kind of a move. But we see where it lines up. And I'm always interested to see how low they price these, how low, 57.85. Come on. And where they are in relation to so let me go back here. It's gapping in the middle of Thursday's range. So I'll look at the distance. It's not as far as I thought it would be. Okay. At least it's on a support area and coming down to that level. I wouldn't think so. And this little shelf of bars right there, that's going to be your intraday support. So say 58.50-ish, which typically is going to have a relatively larger open interest. And if it's got to get through, well, if it's going to open out, I guess around 5,900, the whole number. And if the upside is above Friday, that should be a no-brainer. 59.95. What? No, 59.65. Hmm. I'm surprised it's not lower, which would suggest to me a little bit of complacency to this gap down in this area, that this is that close. So normally with a gap down like this would have been further down and maybe below the 200. So I thought they'd be no-brainers. I don't think they're no-brainers. This being an uptrend, I think it's unlikely they're going to buy this on the gap down with those interest rates like that. But who the hell knows? So we'll pick a place intraday in the room here. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Whenever we have big gaps like this on a Monday with our advisory letters and a lot of picks, like last Monday, all of our bullish setups, not all, the vast majority, just we had to throw in the garbage because of the gap up, and now we got a gap down. But I say the same thing. The the trades opposite the direction of the gap, I don't mind if they get hit. So since we're gapping down today, I don't have a single alarm going off on my bullish trades, but if they do, I'll pull them up, and as long as they look fine, then they're fine. So, but then the flip of that is our short trades, we got to make sure they're not excessive. So, for example, this was a short in the letter breakdown Alex found for me. So the question is that excessive? And I say yes. Just visually here, that's a big gap. So let's wait for a bounce. Let me tell them that. So it's either going to be look for, they're either good to go as posted, they're cancel, or they're let's wait for a better entry on the gap. Other alarms, tan. Now the call spreads and the weekly options letter, I don't mind. So we have call spreads on TAN, Climo, So the entry is under Thursday's low, because then that would be a potent reversal and it's gapping under it. So I'm okay if that one gets filled. I had to like search for some shorts. Apple here we gave as a call spread under Thursday's low. So that's well, it might be bouncing here. Let me see where the exact entry was. Apple under 209. Under 209.50. Okay, so then yeah, that's good to go if it gets filled. Now Rocket Lab, we have long calls from Thursday. My low alarm went off, but we have a break even stop. SG alarm. This was also in the letter. 14. Now see that one's okay. So that one's okay to short because it's not excessive. And so those are all the alarms. We don't have a whole lot of open positions. I'll just go through them. We don't have many at all. BF.B for longness, beautiful inverse head and shoulder bottoming pattern. ICLR, we're short with a break even stop. And W, we're long this with a stop under Thursday's low. Rig T has kind of been dead money. And this is the microcomputer thing. Rocket Lab we just talked about. Oh, I had an up alarm actually on this QB. So the weekly option slider, we only have 2 opens. QBTS, look, it's gapping up. So that's relative strength. We're short the 10.5 puts, I think. Let me put that down here. So yeah, we have a nice open gain, and now we should have a bigger open gain. And then SMCI, we have a put spread half lot, so to add on a pullback. And the put spread is under Friday's low, 41.38. So we still have over $3 out of the money of cushion. That's it. So we also have our fee and the weekly and the ETF letter. We nailed this right here on this gap breakout. That's where we got in this thing. Right there. So see, in retrospect, you say, oh yeah, no brainer. But at the time, I guaranteed you would have some people saying, well, wait a minute, this is a downtrend and resistance, and what are you guys doing? But it was a function of reading what Bitcoin was doing at the same day. Go see what Bitcoin was doing. And then that's when we started hunting for ETFs to get into. Earnings, I deleted a bunch. There's only one here actually that I kept. NIU. This would be a fantastic 1, 2, 3 if it closes like that. NIU, but I'll go ahead and put him in this chart. NIU. Because maybe after 10 a.m. I would buy over Friday's high. And my alarm actually went off earlier. See that one spike right there? I had an alarm at 385 that popped. I'm going to reset it 384. But all the other earnings were junk. If you see something you want to look at, fire away. Andres, social media, hello. Let's see here, yields. Netflix got a downgrade. This thing has been an absolute tank. I'm still not ready to short it. Reddit, I think had a downgrade, had some problems. And let's see, when it had this green bar on Wednesday, I said it's a potential bottoming pattern. You had all the converging MAs. Looks like it made a slightly higher high, and I was looking for a 1, 2, 3. And guess what? It failed. It would be a call spread now, but there's going to be no juice. UNH. We nailed this friggin' low in the green trading room on Thursday. Alex and I and some others were selling the $200 puts. It was just beautiful alignment of being, mixed with the news of short-term exhaustion. Going from 600 and to whatever it was to 248. All right, let's just look at miscellaneous watch list items now here. Here's a couple, Sam, from your list. Legend is a bear 123, but it's a bio. And that's a little far from the 20. It's gapping up here. Ideally, you get one or two more inside bars, or even a 1, 2, 3, 4 would be better. Wow, Sam, all these other 4 of yours here don't have one single print. But I mean, these were just watches. They weren't ready to go. That yeah, Greg, you know what, Greg? I was working on the MT Live pattern checklist thing for Wednesday. So if you find some good examples of topics, shoot them over to me. So what jumped out at me is, that this is not tight. This is Greg's article of it's junk. Look at these overlapping bars. Juniper. Yeah. Surprised I don't see any pre-market prints. But yeah, this is a void. So sure, it could be a call spread, and with large market gaps like we have now, it's going to make entering shorts more difficult. So ideally, we get more information in the first 30 minutes, because then we could see how strong or weak it is. There's the open now. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, it's short of 5-minute low. Just me personally, I don't like trading the first 5 minutes unless it has a beautiful pre-market and I'm trading like an igniting gap of some sort. But yeah, let me put Juniper right here. Yeah, that's a nice candidate. I like it. BF.B alarm. Okay, so that we're still in long. Let me reset my alarm. Qs and spiders starting out strong here, but the hourly has room to fall. The Qs is gapping and now making that hourly consolidation on resistance. So the factory work says, all right, let's see how far it's going to rally. If it just, the rule shouldn't go more than half the gap. There's a couple of pivots on the 15 that were minor resistance. So that's the work. Let's see, so your Juniper or QVTS. So Juniper now, since it's popping back a little bit, now I'm okay with 5-minute low. Your QVTS puts bottom right here. Sold it and it looks great. It's going sideways right now.
Microsoft, impressive. See
Yeah,
where it ends the day, but it already is back to yesterday's close.
yeah, amazing. That's a rising wedge with bullish bars. All right, this HP.
But Dan, there must be a gazillion call spread candidates, but you got to go out the end of the week. I mean, look at something like Zoom gapping down under like an abandoned baby or whatever you might call it. A 1 bar island reversal under a 5 minute low or some 15 minute low, something like that. I mean, they're all in uptrends from the short term, but bearish gap down, some confirmation. Imagine Tesla. That's a more severe gap down.
Yeah, Zoom is massive premium. Like there's earnings.
I didn't check.
Well, I am because I don't believe TradeStation. Yep, 521. That's fine. Yep, there's friggin' 90s or $1.35. SG trigger put spreads. Um, oh yeah, because I said yeah, to buy puts on that, I think. I see Juniper middle chart. So the fact that it's coming back is why I say 5 minute low is a go. Oh, I don't like our QBTS reaction right here.
Biotech's forming a bottom on the daily. Looked like it was going to go down. XBI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a call spread that stopped out at a profit on Friday. Yeah, quiet morning here. I don't have many alarms. I had a low. I've just been watching this bull BULL new IPO. And ideally now it continues selling off and then closes with a bottoming tail for the bull case. No pun embarrassing. So I'll set a new alarm at 11. So CMG I still like. 1, 2, 3, 4 looks great if it triggers. Yeah, I noticed STZ was green this morning. Well, this morning, not anymore. But yeah, I gapped up on that Buffett accumulation news. I clear. I have stop break even, so that's fine. And W or T. Q's. Well, I'm surprised that they're buying this dip. Man,
Just technical based on the size of the gap for now.
bullish 15-minute move. Look at the size of that bar. Yep, Tesla I've been monitoring for call spread. Check now.
And minus decliners opened up down near 2000 and the tick was wherever it was, looked like minus 1500 or so. So It's just, you know, extent, a large gap down percentage wise. Just extreme, it's bouncing up. Wouldn't read too much into short-term positive here.
MCI put spread back. There you go. TZ, I actually have a put spread, I just noticed. Permanently. Oh, nice open game. $27.50s. Half of them. A tick, impressive, impressive move off the low, just steady, steady up, man.
DMG didn't get hurt badly on the gap. 65 minute just going sideways up there. We'll see if it continues to recover.
The MG,
Just got it in the thumbnail.
yeah, no, it's in the weekend letter, I love it. For
You had it as an option trade, didn't you?
directional of long calls, yeah.
Mm.
Because there's unfortunately not enough for a put spread, or it would be in both letters. ICLR, low alarm outs.
Bull didn't rally.
And GDX would be a put spread, 45. $0.15. Man, the diamonds are up to minor resistance already on the 15. Holy cow. Apple down the most. Let's leave it a cancel that. I'm not gonna get filled. What about the tan? Tan, we aren't gonna get filled either. Let's see how far off we are. 36, 38 for 30. Tan. Nope, 5 by 20. That's the problem on big gaps. It ruins many of our trade ideas. Just with this, let's say 30-minute low watch. Let me set an alarm at 76. It's actually came falling back and I kept doing pretty well. Hey, Brett, alumina, Friday's high, put spread, base C. Friday's high, put spread. Algin, same. AI. Let's count. Well, it's not going to trigger, but if that's fine if it does. It has to get over Friday's high. CI up alarm, so that came clawing back. Well, back in a profitable territory on the put spread. It's just not quality enough for me with the market where they're at. And, so many weeklies are up a lot at resistance too. So Alex, your HP doing well. Look at that. That's Hewlett Packard, man. HP. What it says on my printer, in my bedroom, it says HP on it. Rocket Lab came back. Smooth stop today's low now. 24.28. Ah, it was already 24.26. So cool. That was an impressive place.
Most things on my list are above the open, but down on the day, similar to that chart you're looking at.
Mhm.
So potentially today being the turn day. I mean, like every day, we see where they open and then we see where they close. And so now that they're coming up into some resistance, like Meta, for example, it's starting to form a red bar. There's still almost 2 minutes to go. But we'll see, by 10 o'clock, if it, reversal period, do they actually roll over? Do they, what goes back below the open is going to be the ones that are going to be potentially the ones, well, they're the ones that are going to be the weakest. Anything that's above the open, by 10 or 10:30 is going to be relatively strong, but still probably down on the day. So, just waiting, 10 o'clock, see what if things turn here, what they're going to do.
Yeah, remember your Caesar's Palace? And I was saying that it's a bullish consolidation with a void. I liked it, but my hesitancy was the broader markets. And I think that's exactly what's happening here.
But if it closes green and into there tomorrow, it'll be an amazing setup.
Mhm.
So, just waiting here.
U UGI.
CNG is still, that's coming up into some resistance. It's basing there. I mean, if there's a lot of these things that we just don't know yet, meaning like looking at Cisco and Mara and Box and lots of others that, they're still within last week's ranges and no significant damage done. So we ain't shorting them and we ain't buying them. And so now what happens, you know, by say 10 or 10, maybe 10:30, are they still holding on to their gains, or are they, what's below today's opening price, which will be down on the day and below the open, and waiting. Like Nvidia, it's extended, gap down, it's green on the day, it's near the high, but still gapping down from a consolidation. What do you do with that? For me, do nothing. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing nothing right now. I'm just waiting to see how things progress here. However, things like Tesla, which are not significantly off the low, they're above the open, but it looks like it's going to roll back low below the open. And Apple, which is weak, those are going to be the ones that potentially are going to have, more reliable declines, as things progress. Financials are strong, but into resistance. You look at JP Morgan, but that's another example. It's near the high of the day, well above the opening price, green, but extended. What do you do with that? Nothing. You can point to so many things that are just like that. Semiconductors, Qs, gap down below, some support up here. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. So I don't know whether they're going to close, of course. Interest rates inched down a bit, so that helped, but still very bearish event. 10-year back above 4.5, 30-year above 5.
This still looks good. RLJ over Friday's home. I'm going through LYB too. Friday's home. HP was a short. FND Friday's high, still okay. Unless they retrace more flat. Same, looks fine. Algin, fine. PJT. Cancel that one. Sam, Simmel. Alex, did you notice that Sam had Lazy Boy on his list? Do you think that was Freudian or just kind of default?